First of everything.
I know. That's never happened to me before. I don't know what happened. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulties for some reason.
It's all right. Back to the action in hand. Let's see if we can get everyone back in here slowly but surely. So, Sam, so we were just talking to you about trying to get something back up on the board. You were saying sticking with the same game plan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we were talking a moment ago, I'm not in a numbers area by any means. I've had one fish this morning and then maybe one other bite. My first area didn't pan out this morning. It's definitely something I'm going to go back to. I honestly haven't gone on anything early in practice, so I'm not concerned about the fact that I'm not getting a ton of bites right now.
Right.
And we got Mike who's catching some fish. Quality little keepers there for us to fill the limit. We got guys in areas looking for the bigger bites. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had one of our Indy Knights players put up a decent fish, like in the 18-inch range. So yeah, everything's good. We're just pushing.
That's good. At least you. Hey, it's a lot of times when I know I'm getting discouraged on the water because I'm not getting it. If I'm not getting a bite, or if I'm just not catching anything, it's a mental game. You really have to focus on the original game plan, sticking with what you have, and not going into kind of a slight panic mode as opposed to really backing out and knowing what you're doing. Stick with your good instinct, right?
Well, I think one of the things that makes anglers from Indiana so strong is it's so tough to fish in Indiana. Our lakes are few and far between. They're unbelievably pressured, and we know how to grind it out because we have to every single tournament at home. There are times where we literally get 5 bites a day in a tournament, more often than we get 6. Like it's a tough place to fish a lot of times, especially for quality fish. And of course we have our moments, there, and our days where it's good, but for the most part, it's a struggle on our big waters, especially.
What would you say your best day is so far back home? I know you're not there right now, but what would you say your best day is in this year?
From the kayak, my best day was on my home lake, which is Monroe Lake, earlier this spring. Literally the last hour of the tournament, I had a small limit, very small, like 12, 13 inches. And we had some wind blow up. And so I went to a spot that I like when that happens. And in 5 casts, I caught like 96 inches, I think it was.
Wow, really?
Something like that. Yeah, it was insane. Had a couple others come off, they were just loaded up on a little, what I call a stub nose point. And the wind and the bait was there, and they were loaded up, pre-spawners, and it really worked out. So that was my best limit this year. Outside of that, it's been some low 90s and 80s, but generally speaking, in the state of Indiana, if you get in the high 70s, low 80s, you're going to be in a position to win, or be in the money. But there are times, I kid you not, where it's 60 inches wins a tournament out there. There are tournaments where 90% of the field doesn't have a limit. Very difficult fishing in Indiana. So
what's the average length that we're talking about
in Indiana?
I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. But the average length, if you're talking that kind of a bag.
Yeah, I mean, you can be looking at 12, 13-inch limits, winning tournaments in some cases. If you have a 17-inch limit average in Indiana, you're looking pretty good. It's like anywhere else, it varies, but
wow.
My goal every time I go out on the lake is to, I shoot for 80 and in Indiana.
You shoot for 80 going down to the lake, and you're hitting right now. You said you were talking about Lake Monroe or Monroe Lake, which is south in Bloomington, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest lake in Indiana, and it's about the. It's not very big. It's
Yeah, it doesn't look very big.
yeah, it's around like 10 or 11 thousand acres, I believe. So.
Wow.
Um,
Wait, you said 10 or 11 acres? You meant?
Or 10 or 11,000 acres.
I'm blown away by how big we're talking. Wow. So I see a whole bunch of campgrounds and everything on there as well. And this is just quick doing a search. I mean, I'm not from that area, obviously, but I want to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a party lake. It's a recreational lake. I mean, it gets a ton of tournaments on it, and even more pleasure boaters. So they rent out big party barges, double deckers, and they're all over the place. You'll have on a weekend so many bass boats and pleasure boaters and jet skis out there that even on a dead calm day, there's 3-foot rollers out there, you know. The pockets are all lined with boats. I mean, it's crazy how much pressure it gets, tournament wise and pleasure wise.
So it's good that at least it's that big. It's big enough for everyone to, find their little coves that they have, and not too small to where you're on top of each other. If you have the minimum number, but if you load up with all those pleasure boaters and party scenes like we have on some areas around here too, it can be a little bit of a distraction. You get to the point to where they're zooming in and out and rocking your yak to where if they even stop to ask you, hey, are you catching anything? You're like, yeah, not anymore.
Yeah,
there's so many of them. So many of them.
Bad, and that's a tough lake. And then there's times where that lake is just absolutely magical.
Is there a specific type of lure that they like that they prefer on that lake?
So that lake right now doesn't have much grass in it. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. It fluctuates too much. There is some on portions of it, but very little. So out there, it's about rock and wood, and you have to figure out which one they're going to be on and related to. There's some offshore stuff, and then you have some big creeks too that come into it that play.
Feeder creeks?
Huh?
Feeder creeks? They feed into it?
Yeah, there's 2 big creeks that come in on the far north end of it that they dammed up to create that lake. And, it's usually about the shad. What the shad are doing kind of dictate what the bass are doing. So, when you think about presentation there, you're looking at shad imitators most of the time. Of course, in the summer, you get out there on offshore stuff, throw a big jig, throw a big worm, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, you're trying to imitate these shad.
Yeah, isn't that that's the norm here? That's definitely the norm here. And one of the things I love about this area that I'm in, that we live in, is you're going to have shad in 90% of all the bodies of water that we have around here. And so managing the hatch is not hard, especially when it comes to spawn and going into fall. Just before the winter scene, I can't even tell you how easy it is to try to match the hatch. However, you get into some of these reservoirs where the main food sources are the bluegill and the golden shiners that we have. And so that's where you really got to have that versatility to go back and forth. Even if you're not matching the hatch, at least know what colors you're going to mimic. As far as the water clarity, we have a pretty good variety here. We have the tidal basin. It just gets really dirty and it's just muck. It's literally like taking mud and just throwing it against the side of your kayak. When you bring it out of the water, you can see where that line is all the way across. It's just sludge. And then you get some bodies of water around here that are super clear, super clean. Oh, are you on?
Nope. Bumped it, but didn't get it.
That's good though. At least you're getting something.
Yeah, I just kind of switched up what I was throwing, and it felt good to get a hit. I'm not sure if it's a small fish or what happened that it didn't get.
Right.
Didn't get it all, but it was definitely a fish bumping it.
It gets the energy going back up and gets that pump going again. You're like, okay, I can focus now.
And honestly, sometimes like when I change baits, it's not so much because like something tells me, oh, I need to throw this or whatever. It's because I feel like I'm getting a little too lackadaisical about what I'm doing, and my mind's not in it. And so I'll pick up another bait just to kind of switch it up for a second.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to what I was doing. But yeah, it was good to feel a little thump there, you know.
No, I absolutely can understand and agree.
And it's a similar presentation, right? I'm just throwing some moving baits here, shad,
Yeah,
just like we're talking about.
I get tunnel vision so bad. Oh, hang on, let me bring Zach in real quick. Let me add him to this too. Hey, Zach, welcome back, buddy. We were just talking about if we're on some of the different styles that we have. I can get tunnel vision very easily, and I don't know if it's every angler is like that or not, or if it's just I'm unique. But I get tunnel vision sometimes to the point where I'm like, why is it not working? And I'll watch the scope, and if I see any kind of interest in something that I just changed to, that's when I started to really come out of that tunnel vision and think, oh God, what was I thinking? I need to change the color up just a little bit and start to dial it in. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I agree to a point, especially if it's your confidence bait. We were talking earlier, like my confidence bait is an Ed rig. I do very well when I can fish it the way I want to. And if I'm getting bit on an Ed rig, I'm gonna stick. Like I said, I still have this pole in my hand. My other ones have not even came out of my hand yet, and I have, everything else that is finesse. I have that tied on, but this is what I'm still getting bit on. Something else might work just as well, but for me, this is my go-to. And there's a good chance that as long as I get bit all day, this is probably going to be the only rod that's in my hand all day. Now, if that bite does shut off for more than maybe a half hour to 40 minutes where I don't feel a single fish, and I'm sitting on schools and I don't feel a single fish hit, then yeah, I mean, I'll grab something else, but I know I'm not as confident throwing that until I get that first bite on that setup.
Sure. And Sam, you agree with that too? Oh, are you on? Zach, are you on?
Yeah, little guy though. I don't even know if it'll be measurable.
Hmm.
But there again, even if the little guys are biting it, obviously they're still seeing it enough that, just a little thing, but they're still seeing it enough that the big ones are looking at it too. It might not look as enticing to those big ones, but if I'm still getting bit, I'm still gonna throw it.
You bring up a good point. So, and I wanted to get back to what we were just saying with you, Sam. But let me before I get out of this mindset, you bring up a good point. If the little ones are chasing that bait, so for example, yesterday, I saw movement after I was throwing a little swim bait, right? Doing a little finesse fishing, and I noticed as the little ones are coming up and following it, chasing it. It's always a reminder to me, like, well, if they're interested, I know the big ones are going to be interested to some degree. Or, maybe not at all, but at least keeps my confidence up in what I'm throwing as opposed to questioning if I'm not getting a bite, but I still see some interest. Do I just need to dial it down? Do I need to drop the size of the bait that I'm throwing or the lure that I'm using? Or is it a color issue? And Sam, I was going to bring this back to you full circle now. With the same thing, we got started with this conversation and to bring you up to speed, Lisa. Sam had a hit, and he had a little dry spell here for just a few minutes, and then he changed it up, had a hit. Is that the style of fishing that as well, where you can sometimes get a little tunnel vision to where it may not be apparent to you that you have to change it up, but in this case, Sam did change it up. He got a strike. And maybe that's something now he's going to have a little bit more confidence with and try to dial it in. In other words, do you change the bait and lure, or do you change the location? That's my question. First. Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Sam.
I was saying because I was talking with Sam before about this. I was bringing it back into the conversation.
I usually, it's tough. If I've caught a couple, I'll probably stick with the same color. Most of the lakes that I fish are pretty consistent, so I don't have to change up color. It just depends on cloud cover and, whatever the day is is bringing that day, whether it's wind or cloud cover or whatever. But I'm pretty stubborn, so I'll stick with the same bait as long as I'm catching.
Try to out stubborn the fish there and be like, you're going to eat this lure, right?
Right?
I get it. Now, Sam, what about you? Are you first to change to the lure or the location of where you're at to least kind of convince yourself that that lure is going to be fished out and they're not interested in that?
It's all variable. I mean, it's going to be dependent on what I'm doing. If I'm just cruising around bank fishing, or if I'm offshore, or if I'm fishing a particular target, I try not to get too close-minded and set on one thing. That it works for me to switch up and change things up. I like to have every option available to me, and I try to just let the fish tell me what's going on, right? So, like, let's say I'm throwing a jig at some wood on the bank or whatever, and I'm going from spot to spot, and then I'm reeling it in real fast to make the next pitch, and I see a fish come out off of something and follow it, even if it's for just a second. Okay, well, that tells me something, right? So I'm going to pick up a swim jig, and I'm going to try and throw a swim jig around. You know what I mean? If I'm throwing a 4-inch swim bait, and all I'm seeing in the area is little 2-inch shad or bait, then I'm going to scale it down,
Yeah, break it down.
But then the vice versa, right? So maybe I'm catching them on a small swim bait all day, and now I've got my limit. Oh, dang it. I might go on a bigger swim bait just to find that kicker fish, So I try not to get stuck on anything. I try and let the water and the fish and the conditions tell me what to do. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, it does. It absolutely does. And so, are you intimidated by larger swim baits? And don't take that the wrong way. I'm not trying to say you're scared to throw a swim bait that's large.
Not at all. In fact, I'm kind of mad at myself this year for not throwing it much at all. So, like when we were up against Detroit up there on what was that lake called there?
Fletcher's Pond.
Fletcher's Pond. I'm still kicking myself because I didn't pick up a big perch swim bait sooner than I did and throw it more than I did. We got some wind towards the end of that matchup, and the conditions were perfect for it. We were catching all of our fish around perch pattern baits and stuff like that. And, I wish I would have picked up the bigger perch glide that I had in the boat sooner and thrown it more. I think we could have found a couple kicker fish doing that. But there was a few reasons why I didn't. But yeah, I mean, I love throwing big baits. And I haven't been doing it this season, and I don't really know why. I just haven't.
I started to throw mine a little bit later in the season, and I've had more luck with them throughout the middle of the day when the sun is highest. That's just worked for me, and I didn't realize it. Like, yeah, oh yeah, it wasn't. So typically, I would always throw my swim or my glide baits rather spawn and just that post spawn first thing in the morning, right, early. But as I started to use them in the middle of the day when the sun was highest in the sky, that's when I started to have a lot more luck. And I didn't realize it at first until I was going through my box after I got back and I was cleaning up, organizing everything, and prepping for the next run, that I saw the bite marks and the scratching coming from the bites that were on there after I had, was going a little twitch pause, because you're not going to feel every strike, obviously. And it's amazing how many strikes you don't realize that you're missing. It's incredible. There's a docu-series from the 1980s, Glenn Lau. Obviously, if you are a fan of his, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's called Big Mouth. Revolutionized underwater cinematography when it came to bass fishing and what we knew about bass, largemouth bass, spotted bass, bronzebacks, and how we were approaching the sport, how we didn't even realize they would go up and they could, before we even knew it, take a spinnerbait, for example, they could hit that spinnerbait and let go of it and not get stuck whatsoever, and we would never know that they even hit it. So think about that for a second. If you're finesse fishing, if you're using a crankbaits, you ever felt that 1 second where your hand slips off the reel, but you don't feel anything load up on the rod? Maybe that was something that you just caught underwater, like a little bit of grass as you were pulling through. But when you reel back up and you have no grass on the end, maybe it was that strike that you missed. So it's like that with fly baits too, right? That's when I started realizing, middle of the day, that's gonna be money. It's starting to get money. So, and I see them at that level too, and I'm sure it plays into where you're at as well. That light penetration into the water, as you're checking the scope, and you can see I mean fish finder, but I just say scope. But if you're checking the scope and you see them and they're just plateauing out at that 5, 6, 7 foot zone, well, that's telling me if I don't have, and I can see the water myself, if it's not crystal clear, I know that light penetration stops probably right about that line right there. Or the temperature is going to play a role for that as well. That's where they're comfortable. And so that tells me a lot about the game I'm going to throw that day. Mm-hmm. Brian Sparks, welcome.
Hello. My volume isn't working very good. Hang on a second.
You have a very faint audio, but yeah, Sam. So that's what we were saying. Is that how you're approaching things as well when it comes to your glides? Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Is that how you approach as well when it comes to your swim baits and your glides? Are you using everything that you've seen as far as how the fish are reacting?
Yeah, absolutely. I generally don't pick up big swim baits and glides unless there's some light conditions and some wind. But I do like throwing any time of the day. Big like a mag draft.
Yeah.
Certain near Huddleston's. I
Citizens,
really like bluegill spinnerbaits, or swim baits up where we're at. The hookup ratio isn't always the greatest on those, but
Uh-oh.
did we just lose him?
We lost Sam.
Oh,
Somebody put out a
we put out an APB on him.
Sam Jones.
He'll be back.
That's right. We got Brian up too. So Brian, I don't know if we can hear you or not.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
A little bit. I don't have my headphones in. Usually I get my headphones.
Let me see if I can turn it up a little more.
It was trying to keep me kicked out of there for some troubles.
At least I'm gonna let you have that one because
Yeah, he's tough to hear on my end, and I got some headphones in.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got. Hey, Brian. I don't think we can hear you the best, buddy. I apologize. I don't want to take you away from your fishing, though. Please don't let us interrupt your fishing.
Try again, Brian. Let's see if we can hear you a little better. I turned up your mic. No. I mean, I can hear you, but it's just really low.
It's okay. Catch fish and we'll watch.
The glories of cell service, right? For cell phones and cases. Yeah. I just bought a new case. It's a completely waterproof one, and if I don't use headphones, I'll call my dad and he'll be like, "I can't hear you." I'm like, "Oh, it's just because you're old." But yeah, I've listened to myself on recordings with this case on, and it muffles it so much.
Yeah, it definitely will. I know it's like I always have a pair of headphones when I'm out on the water as well. That way I don't have to scream and yell, especially if there's wind. Yeah,
these I bought a pair. I used to do a lot of construction work, and DeWalt makes a pair of OSHA approved headphones, and these things, the battery life on them is phenomenal. I will say, I'll sit out here for 9-10 hours, and they're still at 50% when I go in.
Wow.
Oh wow, yeah.
What are they called?
They're just they're a DeWalt headphone. They're actually OSHA approved for if you work any places that you need earbuds for noise cancellation, because they do have one of the inserts that come for the ear is like the noise canceling insert. So those they're pretty cool.
I mean, we can hear you crystal clear. I got to say, your audio is coming in pretty phenomenal, actually.
Oh, good to hear. Give DeWalt a shout out. Maybe they'll hook Motor City ambassadors up.
Feel like
Right.
you need little sponsor drops here.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for
Well,
a hero.
this catch presented by DeWalt headphones.
I know, right? I wish I had my DeWalt drill in my hand right now. I'd be like, so today's method is going to be used with DeWalt. I got you though.
I'm looking for a
Yeah,
good pair of earbuds because the phones nowadays don't come with headphone jack. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a pair that came with mine that actually plug into the charging port. But I want to get some wireless ones because the cord just gets in the way.
Yeah. Well, that, and then I mean, like even out here, I mean, like I said, I have a waterproof case, and having something plugged into the charging port, if I get a rogue wave come over, that's just moisture that can get into the phone. I mean, having Bluetooth headphones, you can basically keep that case completely on it and not have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have a great case on my phone, but it didn't stop it from getting ran over by a golf cart last weekend. So
Oh yeah, that'll do you.
it landed face down on the gravel cart path and got ran over by the golf cart. So it is waiting to be repaired.
You got ran over by a golf cart?
Yeah, my boyfriend was playing golf on Friday and I had it sitting on my leg and it was plugged into the charger. If it hadn't been plugged into the charger, it would have just flew out of the golf cart. But because the charger grabbed it and pulled it underneath the golf cart.
I gotta say that's my worst fear is when I'm on the kayak, right? I have my ram mount and I have a you ever seen the little hand warmers you could buy online?
Mm-hmm.
I use that as a charger for my phone so that way I can keep everything going and not have to worry about running out of juice in case I'm on in a tournament. But I'm always scared that when I'm taking it out of the ram mount, I have to lift up on the top to let the claws go to release it, that I'm going to, God forbid, knock on wood, drop it in the water. Because I'm like, oh, so I'm trying to hold on to the fish and the net. And...
But when they told us,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say when they told us that they wanted us to have phone mounts and everything, because I've never been one to do any video when I fish, other than I have a GoPro that mounts in front of me. But I tried the whole YouTube thing for a while. I'm just not good at taking videos of myself, and I ended up making a mount because I didn't like any of the ones that were on the market. I just did some. I took a GoPro mount basically and mounted the plate to the back of my phone with some industrial strength tile adhesive, and I just have the little GoPro mount on the back of my phone.
I mean, it gets pretty easy. That's very
it clips in, and then you just got to push the buttons in the back to unclip it. But I mean, it's just I don't like any of the other ones because your phone just kind of sits in it. It's not actually clipped to it.
Well, I have I put an eye on my rails, and so I clip a tether onto mine, but I can't count the number of times that my phone has fell in the lake. But the case that I have on it is amazing. It's not rated for waterproof. It's like a $15 case, I think. But because it covers all the ports and everything that I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, if I plug in headphones to it, then it loses its integrity. So I definitely need some wireless ones.
Yeah.
Jeremy Baker says Louisiana's on some fish.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so just got a message over here. Louisiana's on some fish. Are you going to share, or do you want to take it over, Lisa?
No, you go ahead and share because I don't have it pulled up. I closed everything out when we lost the broadcast, so I can.
Not a problem. So
I was going to say, I know it sounded like Jeff Fader caught a good one for us. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't looked at the leaderboard, but.
Yeah, so right now we've got, so the Rebels and Bronzebacks, neck and neck. Bronzebacks, Pennsylvania Bronzebacks are at 133, Rhode Island Rebels, 127 3/4. Moving over to Louisiana Hogs, as we have up top, the same thing here. And over the Arkansas Hogs, 102 1/4 against their 21. So that's quite a significant difference. Wow, man, 102 25. Hurricanes.
Well, I got
definitely
some
laying
insider
some storm against the Hogs there. Take it down here a little bit over.
Arkansas has more fish than that. They just have not posted them apparently.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still going to be some to load up, but as of right now, the 102 for 25, I'm sure that we're going to see a big change here as soon as they get everything loaded up. Moving down to Tar Heel Lunkers against the Carolina Casters, 30 3/4 and 14 3/4. So that's with Tar Heel sitting on top. Not too big of a difference, not too much, but still up in the lead. And the overall scoreboard. Mr. McGowan. So interesting turnaround, real quick for Louisiana.
Yeah. Either that or they just got in a good signal, so they're able to
They're able to find a good spot for reception and be able to load everything up.
Yeah, that's the only complaint I have against Fishing Chaos is if you are in a low signal area, it takes forever to load a fish and it drains your battery like nothing.
It does, and so that kind of gives you, the mindset of, do I wait and try to load at the end and then risk not getting my fish in, because you only have that golden hour from the time you're off the water, unless you stop early. Which who wants to do that? I mean, I'm not going to stop fishing early, right? Come on. So
can y'all hear me?
I don't want to take that chance either.
Jeremy Baker says Caddo fishes like that, so I don't know. I never fished it.
I always get so confused when you say Jeremy Baker because we got one on our team.
Well, there's a few of them out there.
There's like 3 Jeremy Bakers, and they all spell their name a little bit different.
Yeah, because I'm like, is Jeremy fishing?
Must just be a fishing name.
Must be.
Good. I had a boat pull up on the spot that I was kind of trying to make a move to, and he sat there for a minute and then he left. So.
That's where you do this. You're like, okay, it's mine. Start warming up the hands, huh?
I even brought out a different rod because I was like, I'm kind of tired of throwing a net in this spot. So I want to give the fish a little bit something to see.
No, I know, right? For sure. So real quick, I know Brian Sparks, I know we were having trouble listening, but did you just have a hit?
Well, I believe I did. Yeah.
There we go.
Shallow area. Can you still hear me?
I got you now. We got you a lot better now. Audio's a lot better.
It's kind of pulling on my end, but I did just have one. Kind of just didn't really go after the bait. It kind of just swapped at it. I think he just completely missed it.
Now, Brian, forgive me for because I'm new to all the English here on KFL. I want to make sure I know, where are you fishing out of?
I'm sorry?
Where are you fishing out of?
We're at Neely Henry.
Indianapolis, night Jersey on.
Instead of me going back to the scoreboard, I wanted to stay on.
This is another one.
Third time's a charm.
God.
Was that the third time right there?
Yeah, third time in a row.
All right, so 4 times a charm.
It's a good fish too. It's just not getting the bait.
So Zach, this Jeremy Baker that's commenting in here is on the Hurricanes. So
I gotcha. Yeah. Looks like we got some rain coming to the south down here. I don't like that.
Yeah, you always got your rack here on the back of the yak there. That's right. No matter where I go, I don't care if it's sunny skies. I always have it with me because you just never know. You never know when those freak storms are going to come out of nowhere like they do in Texas.
I'm on my way out this morning. The lady at the boat launch is looking at me like I'm crazy going out in the pitch black in a kayak, and she's like, "Oh, there's a storm coming." I'm like, "Yeah, I see it." I'm like, "I'll get wet getting out there."
I think we've all had those moments too, where people are like, "Really?
Yeah."
Like,
well, and then she asked me where I was going. I'm like, "Oh, I got about a 2-mile trip that I'm making first thing in the morning." She's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
We are a diehard breed. What does Dead May Never Die, right? Game of Thrones, little throwback for you. It's one of those things where people who do not fish on a regular basis, they will look at us a lot of times and be like, why would you even think about going on this? And I'm like, why would you not think about going on this? Like, I want to fish the extreme so I can really, hone that edge of the blade for trying to get ahead of you.
And that's the thing is like a lot of people don't realize, and I did this one time, and I had people the whole way I was driving to the boat launch. People are calling me like, "Why are you going out? Why are you doing this?" And it wasn't that bad. It was to the point where I was like, you know what? If it gets worse, I'll probably not go. But if you don't go out in what is bad conditions, you're never going to be able to be in a tournament that has bad weather
Oh, I agree.
and
100%.
know what your limits are. I mean, you're going to be out on the water is going to start chopping, and you're going to be like, oh, I got to go. This is getting bad.
Right.
But if you know what your limits are, and you know that, hey, I've fished in 3-foot, 3-foot rollers, and I'm fine with it. Then if that happens today, I'm not running straight to the boat launch. I'm going to stay out here and kind of tough it out for a little bit.
I couldn't agree more with you, and that's one of the kind of the golden rules that I live by. One of my, I guess my montage. In order to become the 1%, you must be willing to do what the 99% won't do. And I've lived a lot of my life against that, or around that rather, and that includes fishing, because you definitely have to push yourself. There's, if you go to social media and you follow a lot of big accounts, you'll see a lot of times when they'll post nice little inspirational things like this. But it showed how your average angler will go out and it's like nice and calm and sunny, or those days where you're at work and it's nice and calm and sunny, and then you see the guy heading out on his bass boat and it's like the worst conditions. The day you have free, you have to go out on those worst conditions. But honestly, I would go out on those days any day of the week. I have no problem with that. I don't care if it's the middle of the winter and it's 30-some degrees. I have no problem with that. I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be out there at 30-degree weather. Who does? But sometimes that's when you're going to catch those big ones. So push through it.
Being from up north here, one of the things I always found to be kind of comical is I came down a couple of years ago and I fished the NC at Caddo Lake there, and it's a 60-degree morning. Like it was a chilly morning, but me and like 3 other guys from up here in the north, we show up to the boat launch wearing our Columbia shirt and a pair of shorts, and maybe a rain jacket just to block the wind. And then you see some of these southern guys roll in and they've got rain gear on, they've got their winter bibs, and they're like, man, this is really cold. You guys must be from up north. We're like, yeah, this is our spring.
Yeah, I would definitely be in bibs. Like I will not 60 degrees, it's too cold.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my god.
Oh my god. If it's below 75, I've got a jacket on.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's one lake up by my house that, it's a small lake, but probably just one of my favorite lakes in Michigan for me because it's local.
Real quick, we got a fish on real quick.
Yep.
Hey Brian.
Yes.
We got a fish on.
I don't think it's going to
look
make.
at there.
No,
it's a monster.
You still got a fish though. You still got a fish. The way I saw you set the hook on that, I thought we had a good one going on for a second.
I was getting a little frustrated there. That's the 3rd time I've missed this fish, and I just missed a good one back there. They're just not getting it.
It's okay. You still didn't get skunked.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said that's okay. You still didn't get skunked.
Right. I'm not getting in. It's 13.
Oh.
Oh well.
I hate when you throw and you get a bite and you throw again and you get another bite and you throw again, you get another bite and you finally hook into this fish and you pull it in and it's like 10 inches. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's the 4th short fish I've caught this morning, and in practice I didn't catch any short fish in here. And I caught an 18 just a little bit ago, so I know they're here. I just gotta stick them out.
Yeah. You push through and weed through the little ones to get to that big one.
Right. Yeah. It's been a slow bite, but it just the quality's here. I think I'm just gonna be an all dayer just to stick it out.
And we have about 30 minutes left in this broadcast, and we'll take a short break and then come back on at 10 Central, 11 Eastern time. There's another link in the owners group. I can send it. I'll repost it in the owners group for all the owners send out to their anglers.
Sounds good.
So real quick, Jeremy Baker, one of 3, That is. Said he had a tournament where he wasn't able to make it to the ramp. He wanted, and he had to pedal 4 miles one way to one spot. So Zach, I think you were talking about that too. You just pedaling 3 miles to get to where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, well, the reason that I did that is because the depth. I mean, there's launches all around this lake. I mean, I could have launched out of another launch that it would have only been about maybe two and a quarter, but that launch also did not open. Like, they don't even open their gates out front until 6 o'clock. And I wanted to be sitting in my spot at 6 o'clock. So I went to another launch that they opened their gates at 4 o'clock. And, you know, I took the extra 3/4 mile trip because I wanted to be in my spot at 6, not rolling into the boat ramp at 6.
I can't blame you. Can't blame you.
So yeah, I mean, that was by choice to do the little bit longer trip, but out here, when you're looking for certain depths, unless you're fishing in the river channels, it's a pretty flat lake. So, you know, you're gonna start off and you're gonna hit 6-7 feet, and then it's gonna slowly, you know, gradually drop down, you know, 8, 10, 12. And I wanted to be past 15 to 16 feet, and that doesn't happen where I'm at until you're about 2 to 3 miles out. So
It's the price you got to pay for pedaling just to get where you got to be.
yeah, I mean, you know what, like I said, I took a nice easy stroll this morning. I felt like if I would have had somebody to sit here and steer it for me, I think I could have just pedaled and took a nap. But the water was absolutely, you know, glassed over this morning, and then, you know, the boats came out and the wind picked up a little bit, but I had no problems getting out here this morning and just kind of taking my time doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a little creek that I put in, and there's only one real launch site to put in the area that I fish, and it's 2 miles to the dam. So that's where I go. That's where all the gators are, but that's also where the big fish are. And it's
They
nice.
gotta be big.
Yeah.
Gators can't eat them.
Nice because the creek has really high banks, and it doesn't have a lot of people living on it. So unless you live on that creek, you're not getting a boat in it. And a lot of people aren't going to put forth the effort and put in a kayak in there because you got to walk down a steep bank. And I have a little 35-pound kayak that I take down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you were talking about that. I know, like, we're already getting things ready for our next match, and our next one is we go to West Virginia to fish the New River. And, you know, I love river fishing up by me, but all the rivers I fish are rivers that I can usually just throw my PA in and be fine. You know, maybe have to pull my drive here and there, but I'm actually going to be doing something that I've done it to practice, but before I even knew I was going to go, I'd never done, is I'm actually going to be taking a stand-up inflatable paddleboard out there.
Oh, wow.
You know, just because the areas that I want to fish, it looks like I'm going to have to probably be getting out and moving and getting back in. And the paddleboard that I have, that I just do a lot of like my river floats on, it's only 17 pounds. So, you know, you throw everything in a backpack and a couple rods, and if you come up to a rock rapid area, just get out and walk along the edge and get back in on the other side. So
Yeah,
that'll be something new for me.
Does it have anywhere to sit down?
I usually just sit and hang my legs over the side.
Okay. I don't know if
I wouldn't be doing that with the gators, but I mean, up here, you're not getting any animals out in the water that want to eat you.
Yeah. Well, they're not. The ones in the creek aren't bad just because there's nobody there to feed them, so they don't even mess with you. But
yeah, that makes sense. They're not like just normal around people.
Right. Yeah. So it's nice, and it's so quiet out there. The only thing, like you were talking about going a far away, the only downfall to that, like being that far back, is if in Texas we have these crazy pop-up storms that get pretty bad sometimes.
Yep.
And if you're out there, you're kind of stuck because there's no way to get out. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been getting a few of those up here. Luckily, you know, it wasn't when we were on the water, but we had one the other day that, you know, up at my house, we were sitting outside and all of a sudden the sky just goes green and, you know, it starts whipping wind everywhere. And that storm ended up going across Saginaw Bay area, which is the thumb of Michigan, and ended up putting a couple tornadoes out over on the other side of the bay.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and those storms, like, it's been hot up here. This is the first weekend that, you know, I would say we're probably 70 degrees today, right around that area. But the last 2 days, I mean, you're out here and I mean, you're just drenched in sweat by the end of the day. Where this, like I said, today was the first day I've thrown a jacket on in the morning, and we're all staying at a campsite too. So sleeping in tents when it's, you know, 80 degrees out, it's kind of miserable.
It would be
I know why.
amazing here in Texas.
Yeah, I know that's why you were smiling, because I was gonna say something too. It was like what, 90, I want to say 96, 97, and then up into the 100 for you down there, right?
Oh yeah, triple digit heat indexes every day.
It's
I love the winter, except for the fact that I can't fish. Like I grew up playing ice hockey, so I always looked forward to the winters, and you know, that was my time to play a sport. And then, you know, I graduated college and I wasn't playing for my school anymore, and I was like, well, what do I do now? And that's when I picked up fishing, and then I'm like, well, I can't do that in the winter though. So that's when I go sit out in the deer blind.
That's why everyone retires in Florida.
Yeah.
I
don't know if
have home in Florida too.
I don't know if I could do Florida. I've been down there enough. I enjoy coming down there to fish, but I've been down there enough that I just, you know, I don't know if I could do it. The closest person that lives to me lives 1.5 miles down the road, and it's my aunt and uncle on my wife's side. And then other than that, it's all Amish people. And you know, I like my isolation.
I mean, that's one thing you're definitely gonna have to give up. But,
yeah.
I mean, I get it. To each their own. You got to have a little bit of a distance. I can't stand being in the city and being crowded. One, because there's nowhere to fish. Two, because I can't stand being crowded. I grew up in the cornfields of Iowa, but I will tell you, it's where we're at. It's, you know, it's suburbia right now. We have our nice distance away from each other to the point where it's it's comfortable, it's breathable. Do I wish I had, like you're talking about, Zach? Absolutely. Because we have big dogs. I love wide open spaces that are, you know, nice and beautiful. You can be somewhat close to water, whether you're next to the river, a tidal basin, a reservoir, it doesn't matter. Just give me some kind of body of water and I'll be happy. But then you're also away from civilization and having to drive forever to get where you got to go for work or whatever.
Oh yeah. Even just going for groceries, it's a whole day trip.
Yeah, today it's Instacart.
Yeah.
And they do. Hey, and they have Dick's Sporting Goods on them now. So it's like, oh, do I want to order? That's dangerous for me because I'll run up a bill. I know if I need some Senkos. Oh, golly.
Yeah,
that's quick. I can do that. I can do that now. Have it brought to the house and then have to worry about Amazon stuff. Yeah. So.
Well, luckily I got a good guy that just sends them right to my front door. So. So anytime I need something, I just give him a call and tell him, hey, this is what I need.
Everything special ordered. So Sam and Brian, I know we haven't really had too much engagement with you guys in the conversation. I'm sorry. Let's bring you guys back into the action here. What's going on with where you're at?
Well, go ahead, Sam.
Nope, you go, buddy.
I set you all up. I'm sorry.
I'm just kind of chilling out here for a bit. Orders come in on me, so I'm trying to fish an area I really fish a whole lot, but I'm kind of stuck now.
What about you, Sam?
I was actually just getting ready to get out of this area and move on. But I switched up baits for a second and caught a couple short ones. And it's the same bait I had those hits on earlier, but didn't connect. So I'm just fishing some grass line here.
Yep. So you don't. I
And,
noticed the sunglasses that you're wearing, right?
so
Do you always stick with the dark?
back. No,
Go ahead.
I don't always stick with the brown. In fact, these are my morning glasses. Or if I'm looking for anything, like if I'm targeting wood, submerged wood, I'll sometimes wear these during the day. But typically I go after the sun gets up, I'll go to a mossback blue mirror type lens. But I lost that set a couple tournaments ago and haven't replaced them, so I'm just sticking with the brown lenses, and that's okay. It's not a huge loss in what I'm doing right now anyway.
Do you ever use yellow lenses?
Sometimes in low light I will, but I prefer the amber over the yellow.
That's what I go with. I go with polarized amber through and through. That's I see so many more fish when I wear those. It doesn't matter if it's what the water is, what the water clarity is for me. I mean, obviously you're only gonna be able to see down so far, but I can see the silhouette, the outline, the tail, a flash. It doesn't matter, especially if I'm bed fishing, which I'll tell you, I can still see the beds, even just recently. Oh my God, they stand out, and in fact, I have a video from Spawn this year where I was holding my camera and I was just doing a normal film video, and I moved my glasses in front of the aperture so I could show the difference to my brother, and it was night and day. So I will never deviate away from amber, polarized amber.
Yep, absolutely agree. Amber is a really good lens. I do like the mossback blue mirror mixture a lot too. Like I said, I like that mossback when I'm fishing submerged grass. It really makes the grass line pop out to me. The amber does a pretty good job too, though. If you're only going to have one, it would be hard for me to pick between the amber and the mossback, but I probably would go with like that mossback green. I think gray is the worst. I don't know of a time when gray actually works good. Gray, I think, looks the best from an aesthetic standpoint, but from a performance standpoint, I don't know when gray ever actually does much.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would, but I agree. And do you buy individual sunglasses? Because for me, I use inserts. I just have like my Oakleys, and I just change the inserts out.
No, I have individual sets. I had 3 sets. I have one that I need to get the lens replaced on because I broke one, and the other ones I lost in the lake a couple trips back. So right now, like I said, I'm only running with these ambers, but I need to get a couple more, and I just keep them in my dry pod of my bona fide gear and switch them out as needed.
Yeah. How would you say it's improved your fishing as far as when it comes from anywhere between, where you're sitting on top of the water down to 12, 15 feet? Because in deep water, you're not really going to be able to tell. I mean, you're outside that range. But for areas like you fishing, like we're talking about this morning, and where I fish at especially, and I get up closer along the bank line, and I start to fish that bank line of brush piles, laydowns. Oh my God, they make them money. Well, how does that help you? Does it help your improve your fishing?
Yeah, so target fishing, okay. I'm pitching to something. It helps when you can see that outer end of it, right? That outer end of the laydown or the brush pile or the beaver dam or whatever that you otherwise might not be able to see or grasp. I always like to start at the end of the cover. I don't like to pitch all the way into it right away. So it helps
No,
there.
I don't either.
The biggest thing for me back home, a lot of our lakes have different types of grass, deep grass lines, that sort of thing. So it helps me identify those. But also like we talked about earlier, you're pitching a jig around and then you're bringing it in to make your next pitch and you see a fish follow it out. Well, you may not have seen that without a
Exactly.
nice pair of sunglasses.
I agree. 100%.
So it's just those every little advantage you can get, right? That's what it's all about. And I want every advantage I can have. So
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Yeah, I love my
couldn't agree more.
Mossback green glasses a lot, and we lost Sam again. But
I think we lost him again, but you were saying?
yeah, the Mossback green, I really like those. I do have some amber and some yellow lenses. Also in the yellow, I just, if it's cloudy and it's early in the morning, that's when I use them. Other than that, I don't ever use them.
Yeah, I got away from the yellow, so I kind of have a thing. A buddy and I, we have a running joke. I only use yellow for shooting. I'm not on the water to go shoot anything, so I'm going to leave them at the house. That's just me. I've had way more luck with amber. I haven't done the Mossback. Maybe I'll take a look. Maybe it'll help. Me personally, though, amber's worked for me, especially when I first started doing the bed fishing. It was night and day different. I was like, okay, this.
Yeah, the Mossback really helps me see the grass lines, and that's a lot of what I target. So they work really well.
And do you use them every single time you go out?
Well, I have this problem where I put them on top of my hat, and then I forget that I have sunglasses, and then by the time I remember that I put them on, and I'm like, oh my God, why haven't I used these all day?
I know, right? It's ever since I was a kid. I always put mine backwards on the back of my head, upside down. I always do. So it's like it looks like someone once said it looks like a set of eyes in the back of my head. But I don't care if I have a hat on or not. I always have them on the back of my head. Just my thing. I've lost so many pair because I switched once to go on top of my hat, and I would take my hat off and my glasses would flip off or something like that, and I've lost them. So I can't do that.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. I think we had someone on there. What was that?
I said, sorry, I keep dropping out. I don't have very good signal here.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, I thought you were catching another fish and just don't want to show us yet.
Hiding it.
Don't be hiding the big ones and waiting now, okay? You can't be doing that. You got to show us.
Apparently, that's a trigger word for one of my dogs.
Oh, is it?
I said he's hiding it, and she jumped up and ran over here. I'm like,
I know. I have a Manchurian candidate as well. We have two German Shepherds, and they speak English, I swear.
Yeah.
They know. It's like keywords, and all of a sudden they're active. Manchurian candidate all over again. If I say Frisbee or anything, man, they come running.
Say hi.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
Would you say a
crazy one
word that would make these bass active for me, please?
I was gonna say this has been my lull right here. Let's think of a word. Let's think of a couple words to get these bass going.
Right. Okay. Jeremy Baker wants to see the leaderboard before we get off of here.
Yeah, I need some keywords.
I was gonna say I got a couple, but I don't think I can say them while I'm on live.
Well, right now you can because we're not on the Pride Outdoor Network right now, so it's fine now. Do you want to share the leaderboard, Jim?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were. My bad. I apologize.
No,
I forgot you said before you didn't have it pulled up. Yep. I got you. I'm going to refresh it as soon as I pull it up here. Hang on one second. All right. So Washington Warhawks, Motor City Ambassadors. Right now, Ambassadors are sitting top with 115 3/4 over the Warhawks 60 1/2. Moved over to Alabama Hammers against the Indianapolis Knights. Hammers sitting atop 164 over the 122 3/4. Rebels over the Bronzebacks over the Rebels 133 128. Rebels just barely nipping at their heels. Went over to Louisiana Hurricanes, sitting at the top of 102 1/4 against the Arkansas Hogs, 50 1/2, 50.5. So I think that number's come up before. We were at 20, 21 before is what they had.
Mm-hmm.
So they're slowly adding in there. That's good. So you were right. Moving down to Tar Heel Lunkers right now, 30 3/4. Carolina Casters, 14 3/4. So little, just over double. I don't think it goes without being said that right now, between the Lunkers and the Casters, if they keep adding slow but surely, they can they have more than enough room to be able to catch up with them. But the two biggest ones right now, Bronzebacks and Hurricanes. So 133. That's a pretty good number, and it's sitting at the very top. And if we go down here, oops, I think I went too fast here. So we got down here to the KFL individual anglers right now. Gowan. I'm going to say Gregory because I am not going to butcher up the name, and I apologize if I was to butcher the name there. So we'll stick with Gregory, followed by Mike LZ at 73 3/4. Zach Soulier. Am I saying Soulier right, Zach?
Yep, you got it right.
65.5, outstanding. 65.5, and Dan Perry bringing up the number 5 slot at 65 1/4.
Oh, that's a fish.
Nope, you got a fish on, so stand by.
Well, it's not huge, nothing big, but I was just reeling in thinking I had weeds, and then it started darting down. It'll measure.
I don't know why I can't bring you up to the solo here. Hey, at least you
Just tell everybody, tell them I'm Mike Elsey, and it'll put me up there again.
You put him on solo. I can't get him on solo.
Let's see.
There we go.
His thing's up in the top of the.
Yeah, just I don't know. It's gonna be close if this one actually hits that 14 mark.
Let's see what Zach has.
Yeah, 13 and a half.
Oh,
doesn't do me any good.
Under.
Yeah, I caught 2
That's all.
back to back.
That's always tough too, because most of the tournaments that we do, that 13 and a half, like that's a big fish when you're just trying to fill that limit, and then just to sit there and throw it back without even taking a picture of it, it's just like, man, that's a tough one. Yeah, but hey, we're out here looking for big fish. We're not looking for every fish.
I mean, I think not to get too deep into the soulfulness of what you just said. I at least being out on the water. There's not a day that when I go out, I'm not thankful for everything that I'm able to do. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is like, and I'm sure all these other guys on here would agree. As kayak fishermen, we were just having this conversation at the campground last night. Some of the fish that we just catch and throw back, like with not even thinking like, oh, I want to take a picture of it. Some of those fish are some people's lifetime catches. Like we're out in a tournament that's a month-long tournament, and we're sitting at 95 inches, and you pull a 18 and a half that doesn't do you any good, and we just toss it right back. There's some people that won't ever catch an 18 and a half inch largemouth, or smallmouth or whatever, and we're just sitting here, doesn't measure, get back in there. So we're definitely blessed when it comes to that, being able to, not only go to a spot and not have to move, and we can pick spots apart and come away with fish that most people won't.
No, I couldn't agree more. You get into some states, they don't have the bigger fish like you can that you can find up in Michigan, down in Florida, down in Texas, especially Virginia. Trust me, I know. Growing up, we thought a 5-pounder was the biggest fish. Not that it's not.
Yeah.
It is a huge fish. Don't get me wrong, but in comparison to what we see being caught in some of these locations, it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get 6, 7, 8, 9 pounders. Have a good friend of mine, Andre Pavlin, who he does nothing but swim baits, glide bait swim baits, which there is a difference, obviously, but he only throws a specific kind.
Okay.
And he's
I definitely
9 pounders.
Oh yeah, and I had I had a straight northern angler moment when I was down at Caddo there. I just bought a catch board, and I was like geeked to use it. I'm still using a fish stick up until this point, and I hooked into the biggest fish that I've ever caught. And the day prior to that, I think the big fish was like a 25-inch fish that some guy caught.
Wow.
And I catch this fish, and I'm reeling it in. I got it in my net, and I'm like, that thing's not fitting on that catch board. So I
That's
whip
the
out the fish
best.
stick. I whip out the fish stick and I lay it across and ended up being 23 3/4 inches. But being from Michigan, that fish looked like it was a 30-inch fish because I'd never seen, a largemouth that was a 10-pound fish like that.
It's the best feeling in the world
So
too, isn't it? I can only imagine what you were thinking when you were like, this is not going to fit. This
no,
is a huge
but
fish.
I got to jump off here. We're doing a team group chat right now to kind of strategize. So
By
That's
all
fine.
means, thank you so much for your participating today
I'll jump back on when you guys do when you get back on with the other live here.
for round two.
Yeah. Do you have
Yep.
the other link? I can send it to you
Not
again.
yet. Yeah, Matt has it, but I don't know if Matt's getting really good service down here. So
Okay.
all right.
All right, Zach, thank you so
Thanks.
much for
Yep.
joining.
Yeah, me and my boyfriend were talking the other day, and before we started fishing tournaments and stuff, I mean, we were super excited to catch 1.5, 2 pound fish. It didn't matter as long as we were catching fish. And
I
now we
agree.
get frustrated, with a 15, 16-inch fish. We're like, we don't want this fish,
Like, no, you got to go back. Sorry, go join your
right?
friends. Yeah. No, it's easy to get into that mindset, and even myself, like if I haven't caught a nice one in a while, when I pull in that 2-3 pounder, it's like, okay, it's still big, big fish, but if you are going to be catching, when you do catch those bigger ones, it definitely spoils you a little bit. And I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'll take that all day long, but it's nice to be humbled because we all know how humbling fishing is. Can be, will be, always will be. You'll have days where you're doing great, you're on fire, and then you'll have days where it's absolutely nothing, and everyone else is catching something or a whole bunch, or they're catching their best bag, and you're like, wait, what? What just happened here? What just happened?
I think I've had one good fishing day this year so far. It's been slow all year.
More to come, I'm sure. Down in Texas, the way things have been going, oh man, 3 state records broken inside of a window of what a span of just a couple of weeks, where 2 were broken back to back within just 3 days of each other, only off by 1 ounce. Excuse me. It was 3 ounces, but it was 1 ounce difference from what he had. It was a 2 ounce, 2 ounces from the take it. So it was the same fish.
Wow.
Yeah. So it means he just didn't eat as much that morning when he was out swimming around, right?
Yeah.
So Sam.
Yeah.
You're moving around little by little. So you got the overhead cover. I know that Brian is still in the same position as well. Maybe a little bit of movements. Have you guys started to change locations a lot more?
Yeah, mine's going to be a timing.
I did it again. I didn't mean to. Sam, let's go with you first, and I'll take it back over. I'll take it back over to Brian after that.
I'm going back through an area real quick where I got some hits earlier. Throwing just the same bait here and just trying to see if I get any more bites. But I'm probably about ready to get out of here and make a move.
Okay.
I was really hoping that this would be an area where I could get some bigger bites. And I've caught 1 16.5 and 2 13.5s and had some small bites. So I'm just not feeling anymore like this is the place to be. And so once my head already is out of here, I got to go. So I'm just finishing out this little stretch where I had some bites and making a move.
Is it more of a gut instinct with you where you know the second you question if you need to move that you just get up and move, or do you give it a second to kind of fight through it?
I don't give it much time. It also is going to be dependent on how far away the next place is, right? So like if I think this could still be something worth hitting again, and I've got another little place I'm thinking about, 5-10 minutes away, I'll make the move. If my next spot's 20-30 minutes away, I might try and push through it a little bit, but not long, because once your head's somewhere else, even if I get the bite here, I may not be focused enough to get it in. I'm not paying attention to my bait as well, because I'm contemplating what I would be doing if I were elsewhere. So I do it pretty quick.
Gotcha. And so, Brian, what about you? Are you the same way?
Well, I actually, in those, I just missed a couple good ones, and I know the quality's here. This is really the spot that I really did well in practice, and I just caught that 18 a little bit ago. Just missed 3 that just missed the bait. So I may change up baits here in a minute, but I feel like I'm in the area that I need to. I just have to figure this little fluke out a little bit better and capitalize. Those, I'm going to give that area back there a little bit of a break, and then go hit the end. I really think I can catch those fish, so I just can't leave them knowing that they were active fighting, and I don't know if it may have been taller or they just didn't get all the bait. So I'm going to give it a little rest and go try something else on them here in a minute.
Yeah,
But I feel like it's got the quality that we need. If I can get 3 of these good quality fish that I know are in here, that's going to help us out and get us right back in the game.
right. So it doesn't sound like it would take that much to even get you back in there. It's just a matter of trying to get in the right strike zone wherever they're at.
Right, and the 17.5, 18-inch is quality that I know is here, and I know one of them just missed back probably in that range. So, like I said, that's the quality that we're after, and it's kind of hard for me to leave fish to go find fish that I'm not sure of. So, I'm going to.
Yeah, I think I said that this morning. You got to leave fish to find fish, but it also begs you start to question these things in your head, like, well, if they're not biting here, are they going to bite at the next location? But you never know until you actually get up and pop smoke to that next locale that you know has worked in the past, where you know your big favorites are at, which kind of gives credence back to you have these 4, 5, 6 pounders and up. That's when these bass become territorial. That's where they're going to stay in that same location, that same spot. They've had people. We have some of our fishing biologists. Hey, look at that. There's a dogfish right there. Lisa's got a dogfish on her screen. Huh?
They're ready to go.
Hey, that's a good 40 pounder right there. That's a good 40 pounder right there, huh?
Oh yeah, 65 really.
Wow, that's a new record.
Yeah.
But you get some of these guys who are electrofish, and they'll pick those bass out at certain locations, and if they do release them in a different area, they can go back that next day and find that same bass in that same spot, because those bass are going to go right back there. They're territorial.
Yeah.
Do you use that to your advantage, knowing these different spots as well?
I definitely do. Lake that's really not had a whole lot of time on. So I'm kind of trying to, practice was the whole point of my practice was to build a spot that I knew that I could go, or that at least gave me my best option fish. And I narrowed a few spots down. I've got a spot that I'll have to probably leave and go launch at a different rate. And I'm planning to do it if I can manage my time well enough. But like I said, this is a big enough right here, quality in it. So I think it might just be a timing thing. It is still a river system. So if they would pull some current, maybe it might turn something on. It's just there's no wind right now here. So that's definitely not helping.
We'll just run back and forth in there really fast, back and forth, and then maybe we'll get some current going.
Well, early this morning, from flies, it was like a bunch of mayflies or something in here. They were everywhere.
You would have thought that would have helped at least, huh?
Yeah, right.
A little appetizer before the main meal, huh?
As I have something else to compete with bait-wise, because there's so much bait in this thing.
Yeah. So let's say that the day is consistent so far, and I definitely hope things turn around for you guys as far as the last couple minutes. Not to say the whole morning, but the last couple minutes. Let's say that it does try to stay persistent like that.
No, 10 o'clock. Well, what is it? 11 o'clock y'all's time.
Okay.
We're fixing
So
to
it's
end this
10:30.
broadcast.
Yep. By all means.
I'll reshare the new link in the owners group So it's at the bottom of all the comments.
Okay. Are we still using the same link that was sent out yesterday?
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Well,
we're
thank y'all for being on with us this morning. And I'm sure we'll see y'all again here in a little bit.
best of luck to you guys. I hope you catch something. We'll see you on the next turnaround here in just a little bit.
All right. We'll see you soon.
All right, be safe. Take care.